Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you your top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it throughout the week. Now, these top 8 stories are only documented for records and to highlight topics for those in the business of talk radio, talk media, and those who just want to stay informed. Now, let's get to the top 8 stories that made it into The Mediator this week. Story number 1, ladies and gents, changing voting machines again. After claims of election meddling, it appears that there is a call for changing the way we vote in the United States again. Yes, I said again. Over the years, the United States has went from paper ballots, recounts, to electronic meddling, and still the U.S. is looking for a way to make voting more secure, a better way. Question remains that if Russia really found a way to hack into countries' elections, how can it be prevented from happening in the future? There have even been some stories that have surfaced about eliminating the Electoral College. That would be a big change to the United States voting system. These stories will most likely fade away after the election season is over, but it may be important to keep an eye on stories like these because if you're active in the political process and have some suggestions, now may be the time to speak up about how you feel about changes to the voting system. Story number 2, can innovation combat nature? After a volcano erupted on the island of Hawaii, many citizens of the island are now left with nothing. And in all of the science research, we mortals are now left wondering, how do we combat nature? But in the midst of all the tragedy, there may be someone out there, someone somewhere, who could find a better way to scientifically combat the wrath of nature. Human innovation always plays a big part in how humans counter the effects of nature. And as scientists navigate the area in Hawaii and new stories emerge, expect this escalating story to gain more attention in the academic field. Story number 3. Is the war on terror still on? If you didn't know, a few years back, the war on terror was the center of attention, with suicide bombers blowing up victims almost on a day-to-day basis. And in the underground news circuit, you may also hear more about many unknown truths about the war on terror that you didn't know about. It may stir your imagination. But after multiple new terror incidents, for example, the suicide bomber that hit a church in Indonesia, new questions are now emerging about the war on terror. One question people want to know is, will it ever end? As intensity in the Middle East ramps up because of the new U.S. Embassy, expect more stories relating to extremist warfare to surface in the media. Story number 4. November is around the corner. But which party will win the White House? Another question. We've seen Trump's approval ratings fall, then rise, and then fall again, and then rise back up. We've also seen his cabinet empty out, but now analysts are more focused on who will win out in the race for votes in the White House. Some feel that Democrats have the edge and some don't. The truth is that we've seen the race card pulled so many times as this war for power goes on. We've also seen more fighting amongst each party than we've ever seen before. And as we get closer and closer to November, the results may have a lot to do with which party is left standing after all the chaos and commotion across the world. There's a lot going on, and a lot of Republicans and Democrats are buying out. But where there is data, there are numbers that proves which party is getting the job done. And by now, the election will have a lot to do with what direction the sitting president, Donald Trump, will take. Story number 5. Will Trump be responsible for causing another war in the Middle East? Because of the decision to move a U.S. embassy to Jerusalem in Israel, another holy war may be brewing. There has already been reported casualties at the Israeli border with the Palestinians at the Gaza Strip. This story will continue to intensify, especially because the United States government is believed to be engaging in religious activity because of President Trump's decision to move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem. This choice may have caused more problems in an already unsettled Middle East. The question was it ever settling down? But we can only wonder if this has just added more fuel to the fire. One thing remains certain, folks, and that thing is that the United States relations with predominantly Muslim nations may be at odds once again. Story number 6. What is America? To the entertainment world, this is America. The song This Is America not only hit 75 million views, but has some startling images of how some people view America. A lot of people, evidently, and a lot of people don't. But it seems evident that a lot of citizens have a different view of the only nation in the world that promotes freedom and justice for all. The song is performed by a successful performing artist, Childish Gambino. In the video's message, it may be safe to say that everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Expect new voices in the fight to balance things out in the land of the free and the home of the brave if this story continues to gain any steam. Story number 7 and the final 2 stories that made it into the media this week. The wealth gap. Does it exist? I'm assuming it does. It has to. Now let's get to the story. Every nation has a ruling class, but in America, the attention is now being turned on the wealth gap because the stats are showing that a growing number of Americans still feel that they cannot get ahead. This may sound strange in a nation that has an abundance of wealth, but this story may heat up because of the upcoming elections and the people calling foul in a fight between the elite and the people who are striving to make a living and keep up with the people enforcing the rules. So there's a lot going on in this story and a lot of silent protests being waged because people just can't seem to get ahead, and they are taking their pain out on the people who have all the money because they don't have the money that they have. So once again, America is facing a wage gap warfare. Story number 8 and the final story that made it into the media this week. What you may not know about the job of a teacher. Tough job. If you thought teaching was easy, think again. Not only are teachers fighting for better wages, but they are also fighting for control of their classrooms and students. And if you're watching this from the outside, it may be wise for you to do some research on what the fuss is all about when it comes to teaching in America and across the world. There are some facts within this story that may gain your attention and make you a little bit more aware of what's going on when you decide to send your child to school. There is a new reality in the classroom compared to years back, and there are more distractions in the classroom now than there ever was before. I recommend you keep a close eye on this story, especially if you have children trying to get and gain a better education. This story relates to college debt crisis as well, so this story is gaining some attention because of the fact that teachers feel that they're not getting paid what they're worth. Well, I want to thank you so much for tuning into the media this week with me, Brian West, and please don't forget to show us some support by subscribing to our YouTube channel or going to our website, buying something, clicking something, watching something, or reading something, or you can just sponsor a program. Thank you for tuning to the media this week with me, Brian West, the Doctor of Mediation. Have a good week, everybody.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The mediator is here.